My name is Garland Shirley. I'm a retired firefighter from the city of Des Moines. I retired back in 2009 after a lung injury that I suffered on the job. I'm married, 4 kids, 6 grandkids, and a service dog. I'm the head softball coach at Clark University now.
I am Garland's wife. Life is just kind of just the two of us before Smitty.
My name is Jason Zilk. I've been a firefighter for 23 years. Garland and I went to elementary school together. I like to help people and I like to make our fire department better. One way to make my fire department better was to encourage other people that would be very good candidates to join the fire department.
I don't really remember how the conversation transpired, but he did encourage me. Things worked out really well, and the next thing you know, I was on the Des Moines Fire Department. Each station in Des Moines has a specialty. Being a paramedic, it's not uncommon for us to get called out to, replace a medic at another station because somebody's gone for that day. If they were training on something, I would do the same training that they did. On this particular day, the medic was gone at Station 6. They were drilling on some ice water rescue drills. We cut an 8-foot by 8-foot hole in the ice and worked on, different evolutions of, a capsized boat, somebody stuck in the water, that type of thing. Now, I can't really remember how long we were in the water, but at some point I aspirated ice water into my lungs. The technical term of it would be pulmonary fibrosis, which just means scarring of the lungs. And that scarring produced swelling, which produced more scarring, which produced more swelling, and it caused this ongoing effect that my lungs couldn't recover from. They knew right away I was going to need a double lung transplant. Typically, onset to death for pulmonary fibrosis is probably 4 to 6 years or something like that. So fortunately for me, I was in pretty good shape, and the decline happened slowly over the next several years, and I didn't actually need the transplant until 2017. It was just a freak accident that happened, and you live with it. Everything was different. There were so many times I found myself in situations where I couldn't breathe, and either I was going to be stuck, or at least the anxiety was there that I wasn't going to be able to make it. One minute I could be just fine, and if the temperature dropped too much, I could be completely out of breath. I could take a shower one morning and get out of the shower and find myself short of breath. And when I say short of breath, I don't mean like tired. I mean on the borderline respiratory distress. It was one of those things that mentally you couldn't prepare for because you didn't know when it was going to happen. Unfortunately, it got to the point where I was going to need another transplant.
I usually was with Garland all the time or around him to make sure he was okay. There was one time he needed help and I couldn't hear him.
My wife and I were discussing different options, and she actually came up with the idea of a service dog. She reached out to Iowa Service Dogs. They had an interview. They talked about my specific needs, and we went from there.
This one really caught my eye because in their mission statement, it said, a firefighter, a veteran.
I'm Jan Moore, and I'm a puppy guardian for Iowa Service Dogs. It's all volunteer and get them ready to help first responders and veterans with PTSD and mobility needs. Smitty was one of the first dogs that we got for Iowa Service Dogs to train. The puppies stay with the guardian from day one when they enter the program. They start at 8 weeks old and are finished roughly between 2 and 2.5 years old. The original guardian has them for about 6 months, and then every 2 or 3 months we rotate so they get different experiences from different people.
It really worked to say, what did you go through? How best can Smitty help you? And so then that training becomes more specific of your individual need. It was a holistic process. And when I showed up, they started training me and teaching me about what service dogs are about, what they're for, what they can do. The dogs were already in training, so they were way ahead of me. So as firefighters, we go through training before we ever get put in a station, and we don't know what station we're going to go to. Same thing for them.
When Garland and Smitty were matched, Smitty really loved being with Garland and doing things for him and taking care of him.
Smitty has a very specific personality. You can't look him in the eye and not just fall in love with him.
Oh my gosh, he's so much like his dad. They're both goofy. They have a really close bond and a cute little morning routine. He's very perceptive. If Garland's, exhausted, he's going to go comfort him. They're so tight, and he loves him so much.
He can tell if I'm in trouble before I can tell I'm in trouble. If I say get help, he will find someone, regardless of where they're at, and bring them back to me. I had Smitty prior to the second transplant. And it got to the point where he was keeping me alive. Then when I went into the hospital, Iowa service dogs stepped in. They helped us out quite a bit. They would take care of Smitty while I was gone.
After the transplant, it was a very difficult recovery, different than the first one he experienced. And so finally, he felt good enough and Smitty came up. Things turned from that point for the better. Like, he started to improve significantly after he saw Smitty.
There's only two people on the face of this earth that knows how difficult my recovery was both times, and that's my wife and my mother.
I always feel like I carry a lot on my shoulders. And Smitty has kind of helped with that. He can make me smile even when things are stressful. And he's there for him as well on hard days.
And initially, I wasn't even quite sure if I needed a service dog. It was like admitting to the world, hey, there's something that's wrong with me, look at me.
Firefighters are used to helping other people. That's what we're trained to do, that's in our heart. One thing that's also true about quite a few firefighters, it's very difficult for us to ask for help.
If I could be an advocate for people that have gone through the type of things that I've gone through to have a service dog, I'd do it any day of the week. The biggest association people have right now with service animals and people that have served is typically along the lines of veterans. So when you start thinking about a service dog for a retired police officer, retired firefighter, retired EMS personnel, when they leave the job, have injuries, you hear a lot of high rates of cancer. My injury is gonna kill me eventually. We need to start having that conversation more often. These are people that give their lives to serve and save their community, and they need support.
There are so many people, veterans and first responders, who need a dog to help them, and I wish that we could help more people and get more dogs trained.
Smitty is, to me, he's the best service dog there is out there, but it's because he's my service dog. I can't imagine what it's like to train a service dog, create that bond, knowing that at some point you have to give him up. When he's around me, I feel like a kid, you know, because he's that important to me. He's done everything that he's supposed to do for me and then some.
He is dedicated to helping Garland, which has saved Garland's life.
He's on duty 24 hours a day, whether he's wearing a vest or not. And that's not me asking him to do that. I truly feel like he feels like that's his purpose.
Soldiers who get injured in the war get a Purple Heart, and he always says Smitty's his Purple Heart.